Hey everybody, JC here, Tuesday night, October 4th. I will tell you right away that things are looking better for New Jersey as far as Matthew goes. So let's dive right in. Now this is Matthew here, about to make landfall over the eastern tip of Cuba. Matthew passed over the western tip of Haiti, right around here, and for the most part spared Jamaica of any direct landfall. But eastern Jamaica did see some flooding and some heavy rains, but nothing like what the Windward Passage area is experiencing right now. Matthew should continue north and make a turn to the north-northwest right through the Bahamas towards Florida over the next few days. Now, the latest models, most of them have trended in favor of less New Jersey impacts. In fact, most models have trended towards less impacts north of Cape Hatteras and the Outer Banks area. But from eastern Florida through the Outer Banks, that area really needs to stay tuned and pay attention, exercise evacuations, listen to your authorities, that type of thing. So this is the 500 millibar setup. And here we have Matthew. Here we have a ridge. This little disturbance right here represents Nicole, who is she's a tropical storm right now, but she should just absorb into the pattern in a few days with little impact. She might beat up on this ridge a little bit, but at the end of the day, very little impact as far as Matthew is concerned. This is our upper level trough swinging through the U.S. This is our Western Atlantic ridge, and this is our Northern Atlantic trough. So all of these synoptic players are, they each have a small role in determining where Matthew goes. There's also a weak trough over the Gulf of Mexico, but that phases out fairly quickly. As we go forward, this is Wednesday, Thursday. By Friday morning, Matthew should be northwest of the Bahamas, and I feel really bad for everyone in the Bahamas. It's going to be a very, very rough 3 or 4 days as Matthew takes a very slow track almost directly over the center of all of the islands. And Matthew could actually intensify a little bit and gain back some of the intensity he lost from the Windward Passage, which is not much. He only went down to 140 mile an hour winds as of the latest National Hurricane Update. Barometric pressure has increased, but the winds have remained fairly strong as a Category 4 storm. So by the time Matthew gets close to the eastern Florida coast, he could still be a 3 or 4 category hurricane. And Florida hasn't seen that in October in I don't know how many years, probably over 100 years. As we head further into Friday, you can see the track that Matthew wants to take along the southeast coast. He literally touches everyone from eastern Florida up until the southern part of coastal North Carolina. Now, the biggest trend I've seen over the last few days is the weakening of this trough. All right. 3 or 4 days ago, this trough was strong enough to actually capture Matthew and keep him going at least northerly and close to New Jersey and New England. But because this trough is weaker and because Matthew is slower, there's delayed interaction and there's less of a capturing effect. The main, steering current is actually going to be the front edge of this trough, which is in the shape of a cold front. So that cold front is actually going to help kick Matthew out to the east once he gets towards the Hatteras area. I mean, this is the 18Z GFS, latest GFS, and that ejection is actually a little bit south of Hatteras, which reinforces the idea here that the southeast U.S. is really who needs to pay attention to this, not so much the mid-Atlantic area by us, New Jersey, Delmarva, Long Island, as this system is modeled to miss to the southeast. So let's take a look at the surface as far as what that means. Here's Matthew. This is a little bit ahead of time compared to where I started on 500 millibar guidance. There he goes. Now in this run, I don't know if you can call that landfall. It's pretty darn close. I mean, the eye wall, which is the heaviest winds, is right there off Jacksonville, Florida. So it's really going to beat up that entire coast. And then he turns. Georgia, coastal Georgia gets in on it. Coastal South Carolina, possible another landfall there in the Myrtle Beach area. And then by the time Matthew gets up here, he's ejecting out to sea south of Cape Hatteras. Now, the reason why I still think we're going to see some minor impacts is just because of this cold front. Remember, we have a trough here. On the front of that trough is a cold front. It's going to be the force that kicks Matthew out to sea. But Matthew's spinning like this, and he's going to throw some moisture against that cold front. And the cold front and Matthew are going to interact and probably bring some widespread rainfall to our region in the late Saturday night to Sunday morning period. Maybe a little bit into Sunday afternoon, but at least through Sunday morning. Once Matthew kicks out, we're going to see some strong winds out of the north. The rain and the any coastal flooding aspect will be gone, but we will see some strong winds out of the northerly direction. Now you can see this circle here represents the core wind field of Matthew. On this latest run, that core stays completely to the southeast of Jersey, which means coastal flooding will be on more towards the minor side. Now, I expect waters to rise a little bit with any big storm out in this area, but nothing historic. And again, the core wind field is offshore, so winds and coastal flooding are diminished for New Jersey right now. However, widespread rainfall is not. So, in my opinion, that's a real strong positive trend for New Jersey. Now, I advise you to still kind of pay attention in case this were to trend to the northwest, some crazy synoptics over the next few days. But most solutions are converging on this idea of hooking out to sea around the Outer Banks area, preventing any real hurricane impacts north of the 35 north latitude. So, hopefully these positive trends continue, and all we have is some rain to deal with Saturday night and Sunday morning. It is worth mentioning the Euro today actually went into Florida and looped around like this and came back and hit Florida again as a weaker storm. So Florida actually got hit once with a major storm and then looped around and got hit with a weaker hurricane. That would be absolutely catastrophic to Florida, especially areas just hit by the major hurricane. We saw this Hurricane Jeanne in 2004 did a similar loop, not so much over the Florida land, but a little bit further out here. So sometimes these things can loop. The reason why it looped is because it completely missed this trough. This trough lifted out as it came across. Let's see if I can bring it up. Bear with me for one second. I'm going to try and bring up the Euro, at least the free version. Here we go. Completely different look. See that trough? It's nowhere to be found. It lifted up into Canada, and therefore this Matthew has nowhere to go because you have a ridge connection here. This is all ridge that wants to just completely block it, and therefore the storm comes out to here and goes back around. Really bizarre solution on the Euro. However, at 500 millibars, it makes sense if that trough lifts up into Canada. So the Yuki, which is the United Kingdom model, agreed with the Euro. It was actually the first to show it, and some ensemble members of the 6Z GFS this morning were showing that solution. So something just to watch. It doesn't really affect us in New Jersey. It means even less of an impact, but it increases the chance for impact in the southeast U.S. But hopefully the GFS and most of the other models are correct in this thing just going out Hatteras to the east. So that's about where we stand tonight. Take a deep breath. Jersey's not going to be dealing with a landfalling hurricane. It's probably not going to even be dealing with a close hurricane. It's probably going to be a few hundred miles to the southeast, which removes the primary concerns, which are the damaging wind core around Matthew and the coastal flooding aspect. But again, we could deal with some rainfall. So I don't know if it's worth continuing these nightly updates from this point. We'll see how guidance trends tonight and tomorrow, and if something major changes, I'll make another video and put another article out. But if not, just I guess if you have friends and family who live along the southeast coast of the U.S., they probably already know, because there's evacuations and the news is probably covering it a lot. But give them a call. Tell them to take this seriously, because it doesn't look good for them. So everybody have a great night, and please be safe.